G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be turning this 20-litre aquarium into this behind me. So I thought it's time to get rid of that ugly Endler Guppy tank, just basically the scape. I took everything out. With that said, let's just get straight into the tutorial on how to set up this Endler Guppy Jungle Aquascape. Right, so you can see the light comparison from there. So that's the 80-litre. It looks so dark compared to this tank here. I frosted the background earlier today, and that looks really cool. You can still see the equipment behind, so I just put this black towel behind it, and it doesn't look too bad, but I'm going to get a black background at one point. At one point we might need to try and fix these hard water stains, try to get rid of them, because it doesn't look great, and we're trying to go for a very aesthetic look. Now usually I don't go for aesthetic looks in my aquariums, but this tank is not going to be for breeding, maybe for growing up breeders, but it's never going to be used for breeding. This is going to be my tank of enjoyment. What I also did today was I put underneath this support for the aquarium and the bottom of the glass, because otherwise it can crack if it's on this hard plank, and all the different hardscape will create uneven weight across the bottom panel of the glass. So what this does is it evens the weight out. You can do it with anything. You can do it with a cloth. You can do it with a cloth sort of base. You can do it with sponge. You can do it with anything as long as it's not too high where it's going to actually go uneven anyway. The fish that were in here, they're acclimating into this tank. It's going to be definitely overcrowded. Now I put the old sponge in here just to keep the beneficial bacteria on, but the reason I'm putting them in here is just temporarily until we set up the whole scape, and then they'll be going straight back in. And I'm going to be releasing these fish back into their tank pretty shortly, but yeah, they're still acclimating. We've got the chocolate gourami there and a bunch of Endler Guppies, Japanese blue Endler Guppies to be exact. I'm ordering a bunch of aquarium plants online. That's going to come within the next 2 days, so these fish are going to be in here for a couple days with the white cloud mountain minnows, and they'll move back in. So we're going to do a step-by-step aquascape on this tank. I'm going to basically talk you through everything that I'm going to be doing when I do it. And it's going to be pretty fun for me especially, and I'm sure you'll find it pretty interesting if you love aquascaping. And I've been watching so many YouTube videos on aquascaping and been indulging in a bit of my aquascaping George Farmer book. So a book that George Farmer wrote about aquascaping, so good. But I don't want to talk any longer, and I just want to get straight into this aquascape. Right, so first off, what we're going to do is we got a bag of aqua soil down here. It's like 8 liters. It's a lot, and we're only going to use about half of what's in here. We're going to add that to the aquarium, so we're just going to have aqua soil as a substrate. That's it, and the plants will grow over it, of course. And in my opinion, it looks pretty cool too. And we might have shrimp in here at some point, which the shrimp will love that aqua soil. So it's a bit more of a finer aqua soil. It's not very big. They're probably about millimeter balls. Probably about 1 millimeter balls. So with that said, let's just get straight into the aquascape. First off, we're going to add the substrate to the aquarium. Now we just got some fine master aqua soil. Just going to chuck probably about a 1 liter container in the tank. And then we're going to even that out. Now we're just going to start off with a pretty thin layer, because now we're going to be adding the hardscape, and then we'll put more aqua soil over that. Alright, so I'm putting the first rock in. Most people start with the wood, but I'm going to start with the rocks today, especially for what I'm going to be doing. Alright, so we'll place that about there. That doesn't look too bad actually. Not really what I was actually planning on doing. Now I've got another big piece. Planning on doing something similar like the first piece. You know what? Maybe I'll just go for this sort of look. We've got 3 little bits. We could... No, not that one. Put that there. I think that's actually a pretty solid scape with the rocks. This cost me so much, all this hardscape, so if you're not into really expensive aquariums, I don't recommend getting rocks like these. Now it's time to add the driftwood. This is my favorite bit. Well, actually, this is the first time I've aquascaped a tank properly, so this is really fun. And we've actually got a pretty big piece, and you might be wondering why I'm putting such a big piece in here. I think this is actually look pretty cool. Now I'm just going to break it off so it fits. Never be afraid to break your driftwood, but with an intention, of course, not by accident. Alright, that might be a bit better. Actually, I might do it the other way. Let's try it like that. Alright. It doesn't look too bad, at least looking at the camera and then looking at the screen. It doesn't look horrible. There's a bit of a glare here, of course, so it doesn't look as good as it does in person. And then we've got some more driftwood. I'm not exactly sure what type of wood this is. It was unlabeled. Alright, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, to be honest, this bit is kind of distracting, but we could put a Nubius and Boost or whatever on top of that to make it look better. But all in all, I think it's looking pretty good. And now we're going to add all the little details. This actually makes a really big difference, believe it or not. Alright, now this is actually coming together really well. I'm really excited. Alright, so it's looking pretty bare here, so I kind of want to make some trailing sort of pieces of wood coming out of it. Like, we're going to have all these systems coming out of this one big piece of driftwood. That's what I'm trying to go for. A couple of my pieces of driftwood. Alright, that's not too bad. Try that maybe. Wow, and I think that's what we're trying to go for here. Basically now we're going to fill up the substrate all the way with more aqua soil, and we'll see how that looks afterwards.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Oh my god, this is looking amazing. I'll tidy this up, of course. We've got good depth to plant all our plants in, all over the tank. Still got heaps of aqua soil left for other aquariums, which is great. You can see we got very, very thick layer of aqua soil back here, which is great for all the stem plants that will go here for the background. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to firstly just take a moment, just tidy up a bit more in here and just see if there's anything I want to correct with the hardscape. And then I'm going to pick up the camera and we're going to glue the driftwood on the rocks together. The reason why we're going to super glue the driftwood on the rocks together is because the driftwood will just float straight up when we fill the tank up with water. And usually people boil or soak their wood in order to waterlog it so it doesn't float. But this is straight from the fish store, of course, a little rinse, but it's still going to float almost straight away. So with all these little bits, we've got to try find as many contact points as possible, and we just got to bond them together. You need to make sure that each piece of driftwood has a few contact points with a rock, because the rock will keep it down, not other pieces of driftwood. So if you're gluing other pieces of driftwood together and relying on that, then it's not going to work. It's just going to float up all together. Alright, and the box of plants have finally arrived. I've waited 2 or 3 days. This tank has just been sitting like this, and I've been so bored with it, so I'm really excited now to open this up and show you the plants that I got and the plants I'm going to be putting in this aquascape. We're going to keep this real quick though, because that's probably not why you're here, to see me unboxing some aquarium plants. But I also just want to quickly say I bought these from Aquazon. I'm not sponsored by them at all, but I just want to say they're an awesome website. If you live here in Australia, and specifically even Victoria, which is where I live, and you probably might have heard of Aquazon, and if you are in Australia, definitely check them out because they've got some amazing aquarium plants. I've bought plants from them before and they're doing amazing, so I'm really excited to unbox some more of them today. Now this is a bit of a birthday present. This is about $200 worth of aquarium plants. I'm not bragging at all, just want to let you know the overall price so you get a good idea on how much I've actually spent towards this aquascape. Without any further ado, let's just open up this box. I'm too excited. I've been waiting so long, it feels like a really long time. Looking good. see what we got here. Oh wow, so they're really nice. This is a great example of how amazing this website is. And the people who packaged these, they've given me free aquarium safe super glue and some rocks to put some of the small plants. They even said, nice to attach your small plants here. So you see attached to the side. That's awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Now let's open up the box. This is what you get given here, along with a thank you sticker. All right, so I just filled up my memory cards, so I had to just remove some footage, but we're back now, and let's unbox this box. All right, so I grabbed my nice scissors here. Not really nice, but you know, they'll do. And I'll just snip this right open. All right, you ready? Ta-da! All right. This looks very promising. Oh my god, there's a lot. Before I do get into what I got, I just want to quickly say how Aquazon packages their aquarium plants. Super unique and a super smart way of keeping their aquarium plants safe in the delivery process, and therefore getting their plants straight to you nice and healthy and in good condition. So I can show you just from that bubble wrap, that's a good sign. But what they also do, just to keep the plants moist and keep them alive, is they have this kind of, these paper towels wrapped around them, a couple layers, and they're soaked, and then basically the plant's inside it. And it's great. It's a great tissue to protect the plant and to keep it moist. So that's really great. If you want to get quality plants but also make sure that they do get to you in good condition, then definitely try Aquazon. Now this is actually half of the plants that I'm buying, and I think because I had 2 orders separate, I think another one's going to come tomorrow. We're not going to be able to plant the tank tonight, but we're definitely going to check out these plants, and we'll probably chuck them in the aquarium here, just float them in there until we set it up tomorrow night. Now I just want to start off with this plant because I did not order this, and they just gave me a free plant, which is super nice of them. So they gave me Deandra, blood stargrass. So I've never heard of this, hence why I didn't buy it, because I didn't know about it, but I do now, and I'm really curious to see what that looks like. I'm not going to unpack all these plants in front of camera. You'll see all these plants when I put them in the aquarium, so we're just going to wait till then, and we're just going to go through the different types, and there might be some that you know. So next up we've got 3 stems of Hygrophila pinnatophyta. Super excited about this. I love this plant, and that's going to look amazing in this tank. I've got some really good positions on that driftwood to place it. This is going to be our carpeting plant for this aquascape, and that is Dwarf Blixa japonica. So it's a bit big. I'm going to see how that looks. It might actually be a bit too big. Maybe that's the look we could go for. So next up we've got Rotala blood red. This is going to look amazing in the background. It's a beautiful plant, a nice red leaves, pinkish you could say. It's going to definitely look great in the background. Next up we've got needle leaf java fern. I only have one type of java fern, and I've only ever kept one type of java fern, which is the standard java fern. I'm really not sure, I didn't know at the time of buying it, but this is needle leaf java fern, and that'll look amazing in this tank. So we just got 1 rhizome, and it contains around 10 leaves. Then the last bagged up plant we have is Altananthia reinekii, or AR mini. It's a pink plant. This is going to be a contrasting plant that'll go near the front. It's going to be a bit of a centerpiece, solo sort of aquarium plant that will scatter twice throughout the tank. And now this is probably my favorite out of all of these. And this is, the first thing we got is Butaphalandra catharinae. Catharinae, I think you pronounce it, could be Catharinae. You can't see it at all, like with all the other aquarium plants, but it's an awesome aquarium plant. It's actually really rare around here. It's almost impossible to find in aquarium stores, so you have to order online. They're super expensive. And then we've got Butaphalandra brownie phantom mini. These are 2 great looking aquarium plants. They're a rhizome. They're very similar to a nubius, and yeah, they're going to look amazing in this aquascape. So I'm just going to take all these aquarium plants out and just float them in this tank. That's a lot for this one aquarium, but we've got 6 more aquarium plants coming tomorrow that are going to go in here as well from the same place, just 2 different orders. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm just going to go put these back in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, so it's the next day, and it's time to plant the aquarium. We got the rest of the plants come through. I didn't bother filming unboxing them, but it's time to plant the aquarium. I'm so excited. You can see the scape. It's still how it always was. There might have been a couple little changes when I did glue it together. We've got the internal filter installed into the aquarium, just so that we get an idea of how it's going to look when it's in the aquarium and running. Now we've got a huge selection of plants that we're going to be adding to this aquarium today. Now in front of me is only just a couple of the plants that we're putting in, and these are more the plants we're going to start off with that are going to go on the hardscape and the mid-ground. Basically plants that'll stand up without having to fill up the aquarium with water. And then we've got a bunch more aquarium plants that we'll get to when we complete the hardscape with all these plants. Now what we've got here is some Blixa japonica. That's just going to go in the substrate as a mid-ground plant, and I've got some ideas for that. we've got some peacock moss, I'm pretty sure. I got 2 different types of mosses here, and as they grow, I'll be able to differentiate them a lot easier. But yeah, this is peacock moss, I believe. And then we got 4 little plants here that cost me quite a lot for their size. This fella here, that is the Bucephalandra Phantom Brownie Mini. I probably mixed that around, but it's basically just all those words put together. And that is a $15 plant right there for this little piece. That's going to be a very little detail, but I'm really excited to have Boost for the first time. Really hard to find here in Australia. Next up, we've got some Anubias Nana Petite, if the camera will focus. Another small portion, that's all we're working with today. We've got some Bucephalandra species Gorilla, so this is actually a really cool plant. This cost me $35. $35 for this one aquarium plant. How many leaves? It's about, 5 leaves on here. And $35 for just that. Lastly, in this little section of 4, we got some Bucephalandra Catherine. This is a really cool one, actually. This is probably my favorite. Even though the Gorilla was going to be my favorite, now that I see them in person, I really love this one. And now here we've got a mix. So we got some 3 stems of the Hygrophila pinnatophyta. That's going to look great. It's a bit big, but we'll find a way to put it in. Then we've got a bunch of needle leaf javafern here, and that's going to go along driftwood and create a leafy, bushy effect. And then we've got some flame moss here. These moss are going to go on the wood, so that'll look really cool. And it actually came flat, of course, so that actually helps us out when we're sticking it onto the driftwood. And we're actually going to be, not gluing it, sorry, we're going to be tying it onto the driftwood. So we'll just improvise, and with that said, I'm going to set you down so you don't have to look at my shaky camera filming. And we're going to place all these plants into this aquarium for the hardscape and the midground, and then we can put the carpeting plant in and the background plants afterwards. Let's do it. So that's probably a lot better. And yeah, we're going to now basically tie down this moss first, because I think it'll be a lot harder once these plants are glued in. And then we're going to glue in all the rest of the plants and push these Blixer japonicas further into the substrate so they don't uproot when I fill up the tank, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so we've got the moss down here. We're going to take one out. Start with the peacock moss, right, just like that. I've got my cotton thread. First of all, we'll make a loop around to tie. This is going to be super hard, especially with the camera. I gotcha. Oh no, moving the whole moss now. Got to be super precise with this. There's going to be so many finger marks on the glass. This is so challenging. Kind of did it. That was actually a really bad job. This is another very challenging part, trying to get the cotton thread around. I'm gonna have to cut the line down, and now I'm going to put in the other piece as well. I don't think I'm going to record that because that would take another long time. That took me way too long. Now it probably felt like 30 seconds for you, but that took me about 5 minutes right there. So we're going to put the other piece of moss down, and then I'm going to pick up the camera from there. Okay, so we just finished with the moss, and that's actually coming together really well. Now, I kind of did a bit more of a play around, and I actually decided I want to put that javafern in the middle there. I think it's a great focal point for the tank, more of a greeny focal point. We can have a bit of a centerpiece sort of focal point later on. But yeah, I think this will look really nice, this javafern. We've got some along there, so I'm thinking some up there. We're going to actually glue it to a rock, and we can have a big clump of it. We can just place it on the driftwood. Then we're going to make another clump with a rock and place one down there. I think that'll look really cool. I've been spraying down the plants every 10 minutes or so, which I highly recommend you do whenever you're aquascaping. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the Hygrophila pinnatophyta yet. I might actually ditch it if the Java fern looks really nice by itself, but for now these fellas are going to stay where they are. Right now we've got our super glue, and this is the rock we're going to be using. Little river sort of pebble, it's very smooth, and we're just going to open the super glue and we're just going to all we got to do is press that down, let it dry for about 20 seconds, and then it should be stable. Oh, just like that. Alright, more progress. You can see we got the moss on the wood still there, and I stuck all the Java fern to the rocks. That took another long time. I'm really trying to get used to all this aquascaping stuff, so you can see that's actually going to look really cool. You can't really see right now through the glass and on the camera, but when we fill up the tank, it'll look really nice, and it's kind of creating a leafy effect going that way when the flow is coming that way, so that'll look really nice. And now it's time to attach the boost and the Anubias to the driftwood. We'll do that and we'll go from there. Okay, so my camera died half an hour ago, so I've been charging it, and during that time I've done a couple more things. I'm going to quickly show you what I've done in this tank so far. Now, firstly, we've got the Boost Philandra Catherine A stuck on this piece of driftwood here. That actually looks really cool. We've got the Java fern to create a nice little bushy effect, and then we've got the moss here. We've got Dwarf Blixer all along there, and I actually put some AR Mini just here. We've got the Anubias right there. Another Boost Philandra there, that's the Gorilla. And then the Brownie Phantom Mini there. Moving down, we've got the Hygrophila Pinatophyta. Just one piece of it. We've still got two other pieces. I might save that for a future aquascape. Got some more Dwarf Blixer there. AR Mini just in there. It might creep out of the driftwood and create nice effects later on. Actually, I also put some Hygrophila Pinatophyta there, but I'll probably take that out because it doesn't really look that good. Now, the next step, before we fill up the tank, we've got one more thing we need to do, which is plant a carpet of Monte Carlo all along here. We've got a really nice luscious clump, and we're going to plant that along, and that'll really take this aquascape to the next level. And the tank is filled up. It looks really nice. I'm actually really happy with these results. This is the best tank I've ever constructed before. Now, the last element of this aquascape is going to be the background plants. We cannot have a background without plants. The first thing we have is some super red Rotala. It might be a Rotala rotundifolia, I'm pretty sure. Got a little plant anchor, so it's just basically this terracotta cube thing. And then I've put the roots through that in the start of the stems, and then some little filter floss in between from both sides to keep it secure. And then we can just pop that wherever we want, and it'll start growing. Just make sure there's roots at the bottom so that the roots can find their way into the substrate and get the nutrients they need. And then the other background plant we have is some blood stargrass, I'm pretty sure it's called. This was a free plant that came in my selection of plants that I bought from Aquazon, so that's absolutely awesome. That's going to go probably about there, and then this one's going to go back there. And then we're also going to take some vallisneria from this tank, which gives it a great look. It definitely matches the theme with the Java fern, at least I'm pretty sure it will, so I'm thinking of putting that in the center, probably have it going out both ways, and that'll look really cool hopefully. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we'll add Rotala rotundifolia later on, not today. It's actually 10 o'clock now at night on a school night, so I better go get planting and then we can see what it looks like with some background plants. Alright guys, so it's 5 days later and we're going to take a look at the tank behind me. I'll let you know it's doing really well. So with that said, let's just take a straight up look at how the new Aquascape is going. Look at that. Compare it with the 80-litre tank. It looks incredible. So if we take a look at what's going on in here, we've got a couple little things happening while this tank has been running for the last 5 days. We don't have any fish in here yet. In fact, we're going to be getting some tomorrow, which will be really cool. In fact, we're not actually getting them, we're just transporting them for that tank, but you know, same thing. And we're going to be, putting the Endler Guppies in here, which will look amazing. The Endler Guppies should contrast really well, as the males do have blue coloration, which looks great against all the green and the brown sort of color scheme in this tank. You could call it, I'm not sure. I think they just look really nice in here. What we do have though is some melting in the dwarf blixer. So I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, right there, that's a really good example. We got some melting. I'm pretty sure that's melting. If it's something else, let me know. And then there's like leaves that are coming out that look really nice, so they'll take over. I'm pretty sure that's melting. We also had another problem where we put the Bucephalandria catharinae, which was right there. It was like too close to the water surface where it wouldn't actually stay underwater. The leaves would poke out of the water and I don't want it to dry out or anything. It's Bucephalandria, it's expensive, it's hard to find. I don't want to risk anything here. So yeah, I just moved the Bucephalandria catharinae just down to there. So not really much of a distance, but you know, still a bit of a difference, and therefore it's easy to keep it underwater now, even if some water evaporates. What I'm thinking of doing though is getting a razor blade and cutting off just the tip of these piece of the driftwood so that we can actually put a lid on here, because I've seen so many aquascapes without lids and fish. I don't understand how that works, because I've always had fish jump out of the aquariums before, at least on a tank that looks like this, but I mean, yeah, they probably jump out, especially Endler Guppies and a chocolate gourami. Now, the water's not super clear, as I did do a water change a couple hours ago. I also did one yesterday too, so I've done a couple since I've last shown you. So yeah, the tanks are actually looking really good. All the other plants are doing really well. Just another little problem, not really, is that the flow is basically pushing all the little like loose plant leaves and stuff onto the moss right here. So you can see just it picks up some of those pieces of debris, which is kind of annoying. Doesn't look great, but I mean, I just clear it out each day and then it looks fine. Another thing is I added some pine needle back there that I bought today. So I only just added that, and I have a little terracotta pot that I planted the stems into, just so that it's easier to root into the substrate. It just makes the job a whole lot easier, and therefore if I ever want to remove it, I can just take it out and it all comes out together, and hopefully doesn't make too much of a fuss with the aqua soil. What I've been dosing this aquarium with over the last couple days is some Seachem Flourish, which is an all-in-one. I wouldn't say all-in-one, but it's a great fertilizer for your aquarium. It's great to start off with, and as you do set up higher tech aquariums, you can get the series of Flourish that Seachem have done, and they're just a very high-end brand. So I decided to commit, and while I was at the fish store today, I decided to indulge in some Flourish Iron. Flourish Iron is going to ensure that we have a good level of iron in our aquarium, and you can see we've got some red plants in here, some blood red rotala, and some blood stargrass or something. So this iron is going to come in very useful, and also in all the other aquariums, if we ever have a nutrient deficiency or iron deficiency, we're going to be able to fix that with these two products. Now that's really it for this aquarium. We haven't really done much else, just the tank's been thriving. We just got a little heater going on there. Yeah, the tank's warm, which is great for the Endler Guppies. The tank's looking amazing. I can't complain, and I'll see you tomorrow when we add the Endler Guppies to the tank, get some fish going in here.